Hello, 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 good evening. And once again, welcome, welcome, welcome to SaffronSACAP voiceover talk show. It's another Wednesday, guys, and it's amazing to be back again. My name is Giz Ojiako, and I am the director for programs for SaffronSACAP. It's amazing to have those of you that have joined early birds. Thank you so much for coming on. And it's amazing because I'm seeing some new names, so that's good. I'm going to introduce one of my colleagues. The rest will be joining us later today, and we do hope to have a filled house today. So without much ado, Yemi, would you like to unmute and welcome yourself, please?
Okay. Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon somewhere in the world. Thank you for joining us this lovely day. Thank you for allowing us to graze your social media handles, your phones, your laptops, wherever you're watching us from. I will be hosting our lovely family on Facebook this evening, as always. Please leave your comments for me. Say hello, like our comments, like our page, and also share, please. This is going to be a very interesting topic. We've had a lot of people saying this is a topic that they would really love to contribute to. So please remind somebody where they should be at this time. And I hope we do get to discuss issues that will help us to do better by our children and young people. Have a lovely evening. Thanks, Keith.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I also would like to welcome our Facebook family. You guys show up every week. Please remember, as Yemi said, she will be there to take all your questions and your comments. So please feel free to drop them because we really want you guys to be as involved in this forum as those of us that are here live on the Zoom. And for those of you on the Zoom, what we do ask, and I'll say it now, and I'll excuse me, still say it again later. And we do ask that you don't share any personal information, please. The reason being, obviously, this is a virtual space. So feel free to share because that's what we're here for. But just let's hold back on sharing any personal details. If there are, we can generalize, make it generic, no children's names. You know, we do need to safeguard ourselves, but safeguard the children. But tell us your stories, because it's only when we hear your stories that we can, you know, be of assistance. Yeah. Okay. So as we go on, we will obviously make this announcement again when we get more people on. So if I do repeat myself, no, I'm not a parrot, but it's just necessary that I say it again. Okay, Rosebud, you said please no audio. Okay. I don't know what that means, whether that means you can't hear us or we can't hear you. Okay, it seems like you're connecting, so that's fine. So you are all welcome. Good evening, Auntie Vicky. I see you just entered the house. You are so welcome.
How are you all? Sorry, I missed last week.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. It's lovely to have you on this week.
Thank you.
So without much ado, guys, wow, today, African cultural practices, positively or negatively impacting on the UK safeguarding and child protection systems. Wow, what a mouthful. What are we talking about? When we're talking about African cultural practices, you know, it's not going to be a lecture, guys. This is an open forum. We want everybody, you know, to have their say, to have an input. Let's have this discussed. Let's talk. We basically, you can see from the poster, yes, we know we used a wooden spoon. And there is a reason why we use that, because you know what? Culture, you know, there are things that when you think of Italy, the first thing that comes to your mind would be pasta, right? Okay. When you think of America, the Statue of Liberty, yes? Okay. It's not necessarily that, we're not necessarily saying that when you think of Africa, it's the wooden spoon, but it's a cultural artifact that I can hand on heart say every African home owns one. Yeah. And I would like anybody to try and tell me, Giz, that is not so. And I will tell you, I am sure, because I have seen in every African home, and not Nigerian here, every African home, and I have been in quite a few, you will see the wooden spoon. And what does that represent? It represents our culture. You know, it's what our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents have cooked with from time immemorial. You know, it's an amazing piece of utensil. You know, for those of you that like your pounded whatever, it pounds well. You know, the metal spoon will never do what the wooden spoon does. But today, what are we talking about? We're talking about how does the culture, the African culture, impact on the safeguarding and child protection systems in the United Kingdom. Okay, what I will ask is there are going to be various opinions, there are going to be various perspectives, because all of us have totally different aspects of life's journey. Okay, I'm just going to say that let us agree to disagree in some areas. Let us understand that, you know, my journey is different from your journey. So what I would have come across and what you would have come across in your journey will be really different. But let us just respectfully try and have this discussed and see if these practices are actually positive or negatively impacting on the UK safeguarding and child protection. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to hand this over to Yemi, who is going to give, for those of us who are not very adverse in the safeguarding and child protection systems, just for Yemi to give us an overview, a brief overview, okay, about these systems, how and why they operate within the United Kingdom. And from there, we can then now look at the cultural practices. So, okay, over to you, Yemi.
Wow, thanks, Giz. I just really want to say, first and foremost, that there is a writer that we've come across so many times within our work. O'Hagan, in 2001, his book, he actually says that although culture is fundamental, our culture is fundamental to the components of like human existence, how we live, our lived experiences. it has also been described as complex and actually very elusive concept to decipher or to investigate. But we are all humans, and because the human race cannot really exist without culture. What is the culture? The way we do things, what we do, why we do them, how we do them. Um, we, I'm really not going to break down what the systems are because I think the systems are very straightforward. And I know a lot of people who are here on this platform already understand the safeguarding, what safeguarding is, which is preventative interventions that we put in place to prevent abuse of any kind to children and young people and adults as well in the UK. But also that child protection is the 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 work that is put in by our government, our social workers, the legislative arm of protecting children. And once you get into the legislative arm, that system then works like clockwork. And I suppose that's how I'm going to leave it because we have seasoned social workers here who can elaborate on that. We're happy to have Ollie in the house. Happy birthday, Ollie. It's your birthday week. I know you heard that. Many happy returns, Ollie. We also have
Thank
Miss
you.
Jenkins here. You're welcome. Nice to see you. Congratulations. We have Rosebud, and I'm believing that is Mrs. Ebere. Am I right? Please feel free to unmute yourself. Say hello, Rosebud.
Hello, Isabella. Thank you.
I thought so. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Trini, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us this evening. We also, I'll leave her there. We also have
Good evening. I can hear you. Sorry, I'm
okay, that's all right. Thank you for joining us.
You're
To say
welcome.
that's busy, Trini. And also this Adeyinka Adefope. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. It's great to have
Thank
you on.
you. Anita, Alfred, thank you so much for joining us, sis. That's all the way from where she is. Say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Anita. Good evening. Thanks for joining.
Good evening. Thank you.
As always, Vivian, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Hi, Sister Viv. Good evening. Great to have you on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Miss Jenkins, thank you for joining us. Say hello if you can.
Oh, she's there. Good
She is
evening.
here.
The lady's here.
Okay.
Is she there? Okay.
Okay.
So she's
Cool.
on, so she will join. She will join.
So,
good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
How are you? Yes, we can.
How are you?
Great. We're great. We're great. It's lovely to have you on tonight.
Good to see everyone.
Good.
Sorry, was my name mentioned there? I didn't hear. Sorry. Good evening.
That's okay, Sister Viv. We're just
Sorry.
greeting everybody. We're just
My
saying
head
hi.
was sorry.
That's
Hi.
fine.
Hi,
We're
everyone.
good. Thank you for coming on.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Brilliant.
So, culture is said to be one of the three most difficult words to break down in the English dictionary because it means different things to different people, different societies, different workplaces. You have work culture, it just depends on which angle you're looking at it from. You know, what's good in my yard might not be favorable in your neck of the woods. And that's why we're looking at it that okay, these African cultures that we have, are they positively impacting, negatively impacting? How can we turn the negative into positives? Is there any way we can do that? A lot of the lived experiences that we have and we continue to mention around child abuse are quite negative. So please feel free to unmute yourself. We're going to have a brainstorm at the moment. Can we I'll just get my pen ready in case someone shouts out something that I didn't even write down. But can we just sort of shout out what our culture, it doesn't matter if you feel it's negative or positive, give us the cultural practice and what you think. Is it negative? Is it positive? How is it being used? Please feel free, everyone, anyone. Yes.
Can I just say something? In terms of African culture, I haven't been to all the countries in Africa. My little experience points to the fact that one of the most important things in our culture is respect. With the result that we look at children that they are to be seen and not to be heard. I think this is where all the problem stems from. So when we come over to a country like Britain, where we all are now, where they're a little bit more liberal, we're finding it difficult to marry the two cultures together. It's a lack of communication between parents and their children, and also lack of understanding of the law of the country. We'll stop at that and hear what other people have to say.
Okay. I've noted that respect. And Giz, let's hear other people and then we'll unpick them one by one.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, and Auntie Vic, is that it has its positives and negatives as well.
Yes, the positive thing is, typical African child will be very respectful in society. Then unfortunately, when it comes to relating to peers, they'll see it as a sign of weakness. Because you're being told what to do, I don't know why we find it difficult to sustain it as part of our culture and be proud of it.
Okay.
We're quite happy to relegate it to the background, then copy other people's cultures without really looking into ours.
Okay.
And the negative aspect of it is because there isn't this fundamental communication between parents and their children. The children cannot even talk to their parents to tell them how they feel about certain things. I know of people who you will ask, where's your daughter or where's your son? It's gone out. They don't know where the child went. I remember when my ones were little, were much younger. I wouldn't say little in case you think they're 5-year-olds. When they were in secondary school, put it this way, before they go out, they will tell me, Mom, Dad, we are going to Regina's house, 6 o'clock. They know the time when they will come in because we have laid down the boundaries for them. There are people that wouldn't tell you that, oh, he just gone out with his friends. So you don't even know. It's not a case of I'll follow them. No, I don't want to follow them. They need to have a life. They need to experience things. But I would like to know where you're going, who you're going with, and when you're coming home.
Yes.
These are some of the things.
Okay.
So the negative there is the lack of communication.
Okay. 2 people have raised their hands. So I think Ollie was the first one.
Okay.
And then after Ollie, thank you, Auntie Vicky. That was amazing. So we've made a note of that. We'll hear from Ollie first, and then after Ollie, we'll take your turn, Adeyinka Adefope. Yeah. So Ollie, if you'd like to unmute, bless you, my lovely, and go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I think before we go into discussing into culture or narrowing that to African culture, I think first and foremost we need to define what we mean by culture, right? I know Yemi touched on that, right? One thing that is very, like sorry, I can't remember the name of the other lady, Auntie Vicky, I think.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to look at your name. Yeah, you touched about respect, right? There is good and there's bad. There's a positive and there's a negative of it, right? For me, with my experience of child protection, what I am seeing is mainly it's mainly an imposed universal way of looking at how a child has to be brought up. Okay? And because some of the culture that we have as Africans, right? The middle class, the upper class Caucasians practice exact same. Okay? It's just obviously the working class most times are the ones that come on the radar of social work. Now, for us, from my own experience of child protection, right? And other social workers can, can counter me on this. One of the things for Africans when they come on the system, there is so many factors. Culture, to me, from my experience, culture is actually the least of the worries, except when they had this big hoo-ha around FGM. Okay, aside FGM being a big, I have my reservations on that. Okay, but having said that, don't let us go into that politics. But when we look at child protection cases that come, there isn't anything that separates a Black child and a white child, right? The major thing that tends to separate them away from concerns, because neglect is neglect, okay? Child protection concern, there is no culture to it. It's just concerns, okay? But however, you find that some of the parents, like the African Afro-Caribbeans, most of them come on the radar, right? It turns out that they've got like complex needs. So what do I mean by complex? Some of them have complex, they're going through the immigration process. Then we also need to understand that some of them, in the countries where they're coming from, let's be honest, social work is not the same as what it is here. Mm-hmm. Okay? So there is that difference. And it's not something that people begin to question it now. There's no question around the whole child protection radar for the Black and African Caribbeans. Okay? And that's because we're looking at it from the angle of the focus is culture. But when you look at those culture, the middle class, the upper class, I'm not commending it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not commending it. Like in Scotland, I'm in Scotland, they just passed the law on smacking children. That is something that the farmers community do a lot. Okay? The farmers are Caucasians. I'm not here to fight for white or Black or whatever, but I'm just saying from what comes on the radar, right? Culture, yes, there is something about culture, but it's not the reason. It's not the main alarm bell for child protection. Yes, some people would use it, when they're picked up on the system, they will say, oh, that's not what my culture is. I'm a Black, I've worked with Black families, and some of the things they talk about, even me as a Black or as a Nigerian, I've seen Nigerian families. Some of the things they talk about, are not things I'm aware of. Even being a Nigerian, that I'm well-traveled in Nigeria, I'm not saying I know it all. There is actually some cases going on just now in Scotland where a lot of families are coming on the, what's it called? They're coming on the, I'll remember what it's called. Not section 1 offense. I'll remember it. When I remember it, I'll tell you about it. But it's something that is coming up, and that's nothing to do with culture.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Can I interject, Ollie? Sorry, before Adeyinka comes on. One thing that's picked out at culture, that made culture in the UK a big aspect of safeguarding and child protection, was Victoria Cleanbay, and the fact that cultural competence was one of the major recommendations that Lord Layman picked out in his review of how we work and the way we deliver the work that we do. And Victoria, her auntie, all use that culture as this is the way we're doing it. So our professionals did not ask questions that they should have been asking. If they had understood that certain things, which Auntie Vicky, so I'm just going to address this straight away because Auntie Vicky mentioned it and I wrote it down and I put Victoria, bless her soul,
Yeah.
and there is the fact that you don't look your elders in the eyes. That is a big African culture. Forget it. I don't know anyone who has not been through that. Is I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. If I put my finger in your eyes, I'll pluck your eyes out, and all those things. Now, the fact that the Victoria was not looking the professionals in the eyes, in the face, she wasn't looking because she was scared stiff. She had been tortured to a point where she had no voice, hence the voice of the child. But the fact was that her auntie kept saying to professionals, it is our culture. We don't the children do not look you in the face. She's all right, she's okay until she wasn't okay. And that was a big major issue and why culture became a big thing within the way we work. I know it is here in England, and the reason why I'm always happy that you are here is because we have different experiences with yourself being like I say you're a seasoned social worker in Scotland, that there are, and that's culture. It depends on where you are, culture in that place, how you're dealing with it, how it affects the way that we live, the way we function, and the things that we do. So, culture around yourselves might not be that issue, but for a lot of, and you know that UK is so multicultural that you can't even follow up all the cultures and know everything the way we do things in the UK. It's a really big issue, not to talk about FGM and all of that. And I'm just going to throw it in, and I'm hoping that we have some other social workers as well who can. I think Auntie Vicky can because we used to sit on the safeguarding board together. Now safeguarding partnerships. That when we looked at African homes, the major on our database, the systems, a major thing that comes up for Africans is chastisement. And then we look for the implements, and the implements we normally use, of our families use, is that wooden spoon. Hence, we have a social worker who goes into the family. And I think, Ollie, you mentioned that sometime in one of your explanations, that the social worker went into the family, saw an array of wooden spoons like we have on our
Yes.
graphics, and she went into a panic. Oh, they have killed this child in this house. Look at all these wooden spoons, long, short, designed, and so on. So these are the issues where we need to start looking. Hence, we're also looking at chastisement within our communities. How do we do that? So let's keep breaking it down. But then there is a lot. So please,
Thank you so much,
next,
Yemi.
Adeyinka Adefope, please.
Yes, go ahead, Adeyinka. If you'd like to unmute, please. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
And I'm glad that Ollie talked about culture and tried to break it down. I also just wanted to add two things, one to the respect issue, and then to the fact that culture also affects the class, or culture is often affected by the class and the status of the people concerned. And I think one thing you'll need to understand is that it isn't everybody that is a Nigerian that lives in the UK that is an elite, that is educated, knows all of these things. For a lot of people, it's an opportunity that they took and found themselves in the UK. So they come into the UK with a whole load of how we used to do it at home and how it must be, even though we are here in the UK. So one important thing, like was mentioned, is the issue of respect. And while it is true that our culture as Nigerians, or maybe generally as Africans, is that it is rude for me as a younger person to look an adult in the eyes and respond to them, it is considered extremely rude. However, I found that for a lot of Nigerian students in the UK, a lot of the teachers in the UK found that the differing nature of the average Nigerian child was welcoming. It was something that was desired because they also had children who had been taught or who had been allowed to give voice to their feelings and didn't care a hoot about that amount of respect to be given to an older person. I think the human nature is such that you want to be respected, whether you're young or whether you are old. But when you as an older person is being respected by a younger person, it is a welcome behavior and idea. So that is a positive aspect of respect. Now, the negative aspect is, as we have said, the fact that so the child can't speak her voice, she can't say what she wants to say. However, I want to differ a bit on that because we have a growing population of, and I don't want to use enlightened people, I want to call it acculturization of people who may not even have stepped out of Nigeria, but who have seen enough of what happens in America, happens in the UK, and because we're like sponges, have absorbed this new culture of being defiant, of throwing caution to the wind and speaking their mind. So there is, and that for me is where I begin to find a bit of negativity, because there is something good to be said for being respectful. And there is something good to be said for being able to voice my opinion. But there is nothing to be said for being rude and obviously rude because I think I am being an elite, or I am being, as we would call it in Nigeria, maybe a wannabe, just, bintu, as the, just come back from wherever and all those things. And I think that if we're talking about that, I'm thinking that as safeguarding people, as child protection people, one thing that we need to be looking for. When Yemi talked about Victoria, I thought to myself that if the safeguarding officers knew a little bit about psychology and body language, they would have been able to tell that the auntie was covering up something and that there was something obviously wrong with the child. So I think it's a mixture of everything. As much as we talk about the culture, we also, as safeguarding child protection officers, must understand a bit of the psychology of negligence being exhibited in a child, in a home, and all of that, regardless of how many wooden spoons are in the house. How many wooden spoons I can spot in the kitchen. Because I always used to say, I smacked my children when they were young. I didn't beat them within an inch of their lives, but I did smack them, and for good reason. And honestly, I have no apologies for doing it.
Okay.
Very well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that take, Ms. Adeyinka. That was amazing. Yes, and I think we're all basically saying the same thing by bringing up the positives and the negatives. But what Yemi rightly said, when you talked about when you made reference to Victoria Kalimba and looking in the eyes, it's how we were raised. We were raised to not look in to a senior's face when you're being spoken to. And if you notice, you'd find that most kids will be looking down, okay? But to see that as a sign of a child being abused or being punished, you've got to know, you see, where comes the professionalism is when you can decipher a child that is showing respect and a child that is actually being abused or being harmed. That's where your professional head comes on, okay? So, and this is where I think this is the whole idea about this talk today, is basically for us to be able to keep our culture, keep what because we have a culture, we mustn't allow that. So what we're saying is, yes, Victoria Kalembe, rest in peace, this happened. Does it mean tomorrow when a child is called up and bows their head that same child is being abused? No, it doesn't. This is where the professional hat has to come on. And this is where that is the point we are trying to make. I will not want to be looking at a 60-year-old, my senior, and be bouncing around and looking in their eyes. I would not be able to do that. I will give you a quick example. When my daughter was in secondary school and I had to go and clean the toilets, and the headmistress asked me to call her Chris. That was her name. I couldn't say the word because, one, she was older and she's my daughter's headmistress, and because of how we were raised, there was no way I would call any of my teachers by their names. So you see, other mothers would call her Chris, but I couldn't do it. What was holding me? It was what I was raised. It's that culture. It didn't make me any better or any more special than the other moms. It didn't at all. So this is the point, and this is what we're saying. When we're looking, whether it's in Nigeria, whether it's in Ghana, whether it's in the UK, we have to be careful with the way we are quickly jumping on the fact that because a child is meek, they are being abused. You understand? So I think Yemisi has her hand up. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, freezing.
Okay.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. You know what? It is always good to talk about culture. And Ollie, thank you. And I can't remember the first person that spoke. I think for me, the major problem or the challenge we have as a community is the fact that, and I think somebody mentioned it earlier, we are so quick to jump on the bandwagon and to look at the Western culture and say it is better than ours. I am sorry, it is not. I am not saying that everything about our culture is 100%. And Ollie, you were spot on in terms of the people. Unfortunately, the majority of Nigerians in the UK, the crop of people that they mingle with are the working class, who are, very, very far from the kind of standard that we have. And I'll explain that. Let me explain that. When you talk of respect, when you talk of not calling people by people who are older than you, when you meet the, what should I call them now? The aristocrats, they call themselves aunties and uncles. You won't find them calling themselves by you won't find them calling their aunties and uncles by first name. So let us get this right. That is one thing. I remember the first time I took my boys to, when I was in HMRC, and I took my boys to work, and they were having, the way they greeted my colleagues, who happened to be, aristocrats, and they started having a conversation with them, and they said, you know what, I used to have my neighbor, uncle this, uncle that. And, and then when I look at us, and some people believe that, when it comes to respecting one another, yes, you may not call me, I'm not even bothered about anybody calling me auntie, uncle. I'm not bothered about that. What I'm bothered about is how we interact.
How we interact, yes.
You understand? And how we respect one another. Yes, I mean, for example, my boys are 23 and 21. I'm a Yoruba girl. Trust me, all my friends, even when my boys see them in the mall, they prostrate. And they, in fact, some of them say, oh, yeah, me see, they make me feel old. And I'm like, excuse me. That is how they will greet you, because that is how I have taught them. Don't come and tell me that, they should not be breastdating. They should not be curtsying. No, they will, because that is what I have taught them. So we need to get it right. We need to make sure that we bring our children up in the right way. But unfortunately, some of us have even lost it. Some of us don't even respect ourselves. Honestly, some of us don't even respect ourselves, let alone translate that or pass that on to our children. You go to, unfortunately, I mean, Nigeria, you know, you meet people in Nigeria, some, and you know the annoying thing for me, and I say it is inferiority complex. Some of them have not, and there are times I'm even watching the news. Some people have not even gotten to the airport before. The phone they are speaking, I'm like, I don't even understand. There are times they will mix English and American and everything, join everything together. Look at
Please
Okonjo.
let me to laugh aloud.
When they were speaking, and look at where she is, it has gotten her. Look at this woman, the poet.
Chima.
So I think we have missed it.
We've missed
Chima, yeah. Chimamanda.
Chimamanda, yeah.
Listen to her. And then going down to, you know, the people in the movie industry, those ones are even worse, because they're the ones that are supposed to be teaching us and educating people. And I'm like, you know what? I don't get it. Now, in terms of, I mean, I posted something on LinkedIn not too long ago that there was so much force about us looking at the people looking into another person's eye when you're talking or not looking. Me, I am that one, you know, it's not, it doesn't, I couldn't be bothered about it. But I don't like it when people judge people with that, because my question on LinkedIn was, now that everybody is doing face mask, now that we cannot shake hands, I know where for us go to meeting, firm handshake. Okay, so, oh yeah, now all you HR specialists, how do we now quantify, or how do we, what is the way forward now? Because we don't shake. So if I don't shake you, now that I don't shake you, how do you interpret who I am? You see, for me, I mean, I'll cut it short. For me, I think we need a lot of education. Education to say there are certain things in our culture that are fine. There are certain things in our culture that we need to. I am a Yoruba girl, and I know the things in Yoruba culture that I say, oh, is not going to work. I remember when I was married, and you know, you call somebody that is 2-3 years down the line, me call somebody brother, somebody, I beg you, cannot work. Those sort of culture, I don't buy into. I am so, please, I am not to work for everybody, you please. But what I'm saying is, we need to look inward. We need to look at the good things that are beneficial to us as a people. Take that on. My boys cannot call my friends by their name. It is impossible. Everybody auntie and uncle. Even my neighbor that was young, before the guy moved, when my boys were younger, and I said, you can't call him by his first name. He's older than you. And my neighbor, he both said, no, they can't call me. They make me feel old. So they coined a nickname for him. His name is Chris. So instead of calling him Chris, they call him UC, Uncle Chris.
Good.
Does not mean that, you understand? So, but all these things, I am not saying, yes, they're good boys, I'll give that to them, but I'm sure there's so many other children, but we need to bring them into that culture in such a way that they would understand it. You don't just pass it down to somebody, for them understanding and getting their buying into it. Because, you know, most of Nigeria were brought up in a shut-up community. Unfortunately, fortunately for me, I mean, I was allowed to speak, and that is why even till now, I can still challenge anybody. I don't care who you are. But now our children are, you know, with internet and exposure to the global markets. So our children are developing faster than we did. So it's a case of parents catching up, understanding, and please, learning that not all Western culture is good for us, and not all our culture is good.
There are fantastic things about our culture that I cannot exchange for anything. Forget it. Even if we have been living in the UK for how long, it doesn't matter. You understand? But I will not now say because this is my culture and it was handed down by 20,000 grandfathers or whatever it is, I would hold on to it. No, the world is evolving. Going by what you said, Giz, I had a colleague as well, a Nigerian man, an Igbo man. You know what? When I joined the team, right, everybody was calling him Sam. I said, God forbid, I bring a curse on my head. I can't call him Sam. Uncle Sam, guess what? Even my Oyibo colleagues started calling him Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam, yes. That's it. We've got to teach them.
Everybody in the office. I rest my case there.
Thank you so much. Awesome, Yemisi. As always, you hit every nail on the head. And you mentioned two things, Rosebud and Chini. I'm going to come to you both very shortly, but you kept on harping on education and awareness. And that brings me smoothly to the fact that SaffronSACAP, we are launching we are bringing it back after COVID. Our parenting classes will be starting every other Saturday. There's no better way to educate than coming together. So please, please, please spread the word. The graphics will be out shortly. We will be doing our parenting classes because there is a need, serious need to educate the African and the Caribbean community. And we've stepped up, we're on it. And secondly, you called me out, you called out my people. You called out my people. You said the actors and the actresses in Nigeria, my Nollywood brothers and sisters. And incidentally, because of the importance of media and film as a major stakeholder in safeguarding and child protection, I have in the house a veteran. He is my brother. He was my professor in class because he was my classmate. And some of you will remember him as Ahana. And you've probably seen him. I'm just going to ask him to unmute himself. Francis, Oya, my brother. It's an amazing, all the way from Abuja. Please unmute yourself and lend your voice. Lend your voice to this topic.
All right. Yeah, how are you guys?
We are fine. Good evening.
First and foremost, I really want to say good job. I appreciate the fact that we are doing this outside Nigeria. And the truth about it is that we must be deliberate. The way we raise our children matters a lot. And we cannot throw away our cultural heritage. The only thing we can do is to try as much as possible to bend them towards where they came from, and at the same time, not making them lose their self-dignity. Like you said, it's more or less a case of bipolarism, cultural shock, going to where you are and things are different and you still retain, maintain, and sustain your cultural heritage and dignity and identity. So for me, it's a good job and just continue maintaining. We are here as a voice in any way you think you can use us in the industry to take this to different limits and bounds. I think it is worthwhile. I'm so amazed. I've learned so much, coupled with the fact that it's a course we're doing in school, which is culture. And of recent, we talk about cultural shock. What happens to that family that migrates from Nigeria to the UK and you meet a totally different culture? Does it mean you will throw your own? And the best thing a parent can do is to make sure the child has a meeting point without actually, killing the identity of where it comes from. I love this, and I just want to say, God bless you guys. Everyone who spoke so well, and I've learned so much from this. Angie, as usual, carry go.
Thank you, Francis. It's so amazing. This is after almost 20-something years we haven't seen. So it's amazing to have you on. God bless you, brother, and keep flying the flag for us out there, yeah?
Thank you so much.
All right, my love. All right. Okay, so I think Rose, who had their hand up now? Right, Chini, your hand is still up, so I'm going to ask you to, Rosebud, yeah, sorry. Chini, let me go to Rosebud because she had her hand up first. Okay, Rosebud, there you go. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me, for inviting me today. And are you all hearing me?
We can hear you.
Okay. And I want to apologize. The last one, well, you people say it's not cold, but for me it is cold. So I just wrapped myself up here in Bristol, and I did not. In fact, by the time I opened my eyes, it was 9 p.m. I said, wow.
It's okay.
That's my thing. I am so happy. I'm so thrilled, by the topic. For me, that is visiting right from the airport, I started seeing the difference, when you talk about culture, the way people greet, the way they meet themselves, and so on and so forth. I want to thank Yemisi for her contribution. I'm not surprised. She's a Yoruba girl, so I'm not surprised. It's myself and not Jaco and all the Nwosus and all the Onyemechis, Eberes on this platform that we have a little problem. Those of us in Nigeria doing community work in Nigeria, going for training in the communities, looking after the children in the communities, talking about child protection, safeguarding, and so on and so forth. You find out that the problem of greeting and language is one area, very serious area, that we in Nigeria, we are getting it completely wrong. And I just want to differ too, that, or I want to support all those who have said that we need to not just jump on whatever that we have seen, especially when it comes to greetings, respect, and language. And I also want to thank Yemisi and the Yoruba race. The way they bring up their children, this thing they call, I don't know what you call it, Yemisi. This one, you people fall flat on the ground. Oh, my sweetheart. No matter, I went for a Yoruba wedding, and I was looking at, how gorgeously they can dress. And I was just watching. I said, let me see how they are going to carry this dress and fall on the ground. Before I knew what was happening, everybody fell flat. And I was like the only person standing. Haba. It happened to me somewhere in Zamfara State. We went to see the Emir. So by the time we got there, in fact, the Emir had to say, where is that my Igbo friend from Imo State? I raised my hand. He said, please find her a place to sit down. I didn't quite like it. I said, no, let me follow others and also fall down on the ground. In my own place, it is not like that. Who are you that you ask me to, I have greeted you and I have greeted you. And so why must I fall down for you? But that thing is something that we need to keep. And I have noticed that when you come over here, it is even worse. When you come over here, you now find out that you enter into families, they are not teaching their children, except for the people from the southwest and from the core north. They teach their children the way they greet, the way they do things. And I plead with you all, please, if there's any way you are going to do it online or something to bring our children up, because that aspect of the culture is very, very good. Something happened to me sometime. I was sent to represent the country when I was still in Federal Civil Service. I won't mention his name, a professor. If I mention his name, you people will know him. He's still in service, University of Lagos. We went on early childhood at Ethiopia. Do you know that when they asked us to go into sessions, we noticed that others were speaking in their own language. The people from South Africa, they were speaking, I don't know whether it was Swahili or something. Those are two of us, a Yoruba man and Igbo lady. I am profound that we could not speak in our local language. And when we were talking, people were eavesdropping and hearing us. So we had to find another room to go so that people will not hear, because we're speaking in English. Can you imagine if we had the same language? There are things you talk to your children. There are things, my Igbo people will say you use the eye to tell your child something. It's an eye, is a body language. So, please, as much as possible, we cannot remove our culture from the way we behave, the way we dress, the way we talk. What am I trying to say? I would like those of us over here that are mothers, grandmothers, or aunties to please organize this program to go beyond talk show, just talk workshop. Let it enter into something we implement and make parents understand that it is a very rich culture for us to teach ourselves, for us to bring up our children in our own culture. As I am here like this, you cannot change me again because I'm now old. And you know that the background that we had, or you people had in Nigeria before coming over to this place, is not the same thing that you are passing on to your children. I plead with us to pass on those things to our children. Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Rosebud. That was some amazing, amazing information and nuggets. And you're very right. We need to. You're right. I will second that. I mean, Yoruba people they're like my second blood. I love the culture. I love everything about how their children speak. They remind me of the Asian community. Not knocking my Igbo people, but we have to try. We have to try. Huh? Okay, Chini, I'm going to ask
that we are locking them. I can abale, but it is good. I end up as talk. Do you understand?
Definitely.
I want our Igbo people to really, really understand this thing that they're doing in the Southwest, that they think it's really, really good.
It's really good. It's good. You're right. Okay, Chini, I'm going to ask you to unmute and lend your voice, please.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to be on the platform. Because of work, I am never opportuned.
Right.
Luckily, I had a break this evening, so I promised Twinny that I'll be here. I've listened to everyone, and everybody has been making valid points. However, there is a point of correction, or not a correction. There is a point I'd like to raise. And I'm going to go back to like 45 years in England, because this aspect of culture and respect, without giving away too much of an age, I've gone back 48 years or thereabout. The English people had a culture, yeah? The English people practiced respect. You had generations that respected the next generation, and it continued. However, as England changed and industrialization came in, and it went further, and then the benefit culture came in, it spoiled so many things. We cannot take away the fact that this country has a culture. Whether we like it or not, they did have, and they still do. But guess what? The baby boomers are that generation. However, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations down the line, it's all gone pear-shaped. Now, is it only this country? No, in Nigeria now, it's worse. I'm telling you now, it's worse. As for the Yoruba culture, it's an amazing culture. It's something that has to be emulated, yeah? We have the same thing. We're from Imo State, but I've married at Ohafia. And the Ohafia culture is so strong. And the in the whole of Igbos, I've married into there to find out that culture is strong. We don't speak English. I don't even speak where I'm from, but I've learned my husband's language by force, because you cannot be there and speak English. They don't care if you live here, if you live in America, you must speak that language. In terms of the respect, we should know your environment molds you. Children are molded by their environment. I always think that the home front is where your children should be taught the manners in terms of greeting, in terms of respect. That starts from the home. That's nothing to do with school, yeah? So we as mothers, it's our jobs. We as wards, we as aunties, we as uncles, grandparents, these are things we teach them from the home, and then they go outside. And you say, oh, I always say, once a child's foundation is solid, the formative years, you give them that teaching. If they go out and they want to show off outside, they will show off. But when they come back, they will know that there are some things they don't do in the house. My sister can tell you, I'm very, very hot on respect, yeah? Sometimes she has to pull me back, because I will not hear my own child disrespect her auntie. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when I call you, you don't tell me I'm coming, you come immediately. There's no waiting, because that's how we were raised. And so these are the little things you instill, and honestly, you will pass them from generation to generation. When I hear my daughter, I hear myself. When I hear my daughter, I hear my mom, because we're passing it down. So the point I'm trying to make in terms of respect, yeah, thank God I'm here, because I was one that was very hot on flogging children. Over the years, I've learned that it's now being fizzled out. But you spare the rod, you spoil the child. I'm one that if I feel you need a whip, you will be whipped by me, regardless. But you have to temper justice with mercy. It has to be if it's really, really warranted. And for me, there's no harm in that. However, because of the environment we are now in, and we are being governed by some certain laws, you have to sit down and you ask yourself some certain pertinent questions. But and overall, the aspect you were talking about, the culture, we have to learn, we're all living in this country, we've got to abide by their culture. If they come to Nigeria, they will do the same in our place. So there are some things that they do here. This country does have a culture. They go to the pub, whether we like it or not, that is the culture of this place. We've got to learn to accept it. Do I drink? No. But will I say they shouldn't drink? No. This is their culture. When they come to Nigeria, where I'm married, every Sunday, they're in the pub. Every Sunday, they're in the pub. What is their pub? Drinking parlor. It's the same thing. It's the culture there. Saturday, they're in the market selling their wares. Sunday, we go to church in the morning. Then after Sunday, every place in Aba is pub. That is the culture. Now, when you go there, you've got to sit down and you learn to accept it. Now, when you come here, you've got to accept their culture, but you've got to show that you respect it, and they've got to show they respect you. So what I'm trying to say, in effect, is yes, let's not take away the fact that this country has had a culture and also has this thing of respect. They've been doing it for years. Sadly, as the generations are getting younger and younger, it's going to be funny where we can say they don't have. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for that. I'm going to go to Dakbo before I come back to you, Yemisi, because that's a new hand. Uncle Dakbo, good evening. Nice to have you on tonight.
Good evening, Ma.
Excuse me, he is our, when you look at our website, when you look at everything, tech, this is our tech guru. This is Saffron's tech guru. So good evening, Dakbo.
Good evening, Ma.
You may go ahead. How are you?
Hi, thank you, Ma.
Good.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. I just want to, everybody has spoken well. Like I joined late, and apologies for that.
That's fine.
I'm just getting home, but I've had a lot of things. I just wanted to point out that the culture loses value in the places where you have mixed race. So you go to Asia because it's not a tourist destination. You see, there's still that much culture around there. You go to, like, if you want to look like she was rightly saying earlier on that UK has culture. Like I've seen movies that they like I see British people that are very cultured people, but you know, is it immigration or migration? Moving to and fro. The place like in New York, if you look at the whole American system, New York is like the worst place to raise a kid because all these Lagos nonchalant habits are there. And you know, if you go to places like LA, they're a little bit more culture. Chicago is a little bit more culture. And the moment you come back home, you know, you start speaking language, they know that, oh, this person is from New York, he's not mannered. You know, all these things are there. So let's just have it at the back of our mind that places where you have a lot of mixed race, you tend to lose culture in those areas.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dakbo. That was amazing. I just want to welcome Auntie Amma. Good evening, Auntie Amma. I know you've been on, and I know you've been in your corner listening as you do. Auntie Amma was on last week. We had an amazing session with Auntie Amma. Auntie Amma is mine and Yemi's mentor. So you are welcome. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Auntie Amma.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask Marcia, our fellow director, please, can you unmute? Marcia's in the house. Good evening, Marcia. Unmute and introduce yourself. You can do that behind camera if you wish. There she is.
I'm sorry for my tardiness. Hi, my name is Marcia, and I'm the director for children intervention and engagement. I'm all over the place, sorry. It's been a tough day. I hope you guys are having fun, and I'm now joining you for the rest of the evening.
Brilliant. Thank you, Marcia. It's amazing to have you on. So guys, you know, we've had some amazing output this evening. Honestly, I've been writing as I usually do, and already almost 6 pages. So, you know, keep it coming, because like we're saying, you know, knowledge is power. And, you know, you've got professionals on here. We're learning, we're exchanging. We're talking about cross borders. You know, we've had Auntie Vicky that has been to every African country. How you've managed to do that, only God knows, but that is amazing, you know. And it's nice when, I've always said, you know, when you're talking about experiences, you see, hearsay doesn't hold up in a court, but, you know, you're talking from firsthand because you've actually experienced it. So you are an authority because you've gone into those places, you've seen how it works, and you're able to come back and feedback. I've got another hand up. Adeyinka, you've got your hand up again. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if I can do this, but I was about to divert our attention a bit, still talking a bit about respect, but also now moving it to, because we're talking about safeguarding and child protection issues, and we're talking about it now. We've been talking about respect for a while. Now, I see another culture, if I may call it that, in Africa generally, and maybe in Nigeria. So there is the mindset that you don't talk about what happens. Every family has a secret. You don't talk about what happens in our family to other people. It is our secret. And so when we bring that under the purview of safeguarding and child protection, it's easy for a child that is being abused, being neglected, is not getting the best that he can get, to even talk to anybody about it. And so protecting such a child may become a bit difficult, or even getting the truth of the situation, or, you know, from that child becomes a bit difficult. And that, I know, is a culture that is not even with children and adults, even between husband and wife. You know, don't let a third party know, don't talk to this person, and the wife is dying, or like we put on the chat that such a high number of men are being abused by their wives and all of that. I won't dwell on that because I think their issue is just because of ego. I'll talk about the women. I'm more comfortable to talk about that. But that fact of, or that part of our culture that keeps within that which we think belong to us, that makes it impossible or nearly impossible for us to share or talk to other people about it, I think is a culture that we need to look into and also talk about, because that can potentially harm children, harm whole families, you know, mothers, everybody. I think we need to also talk about that. Thank you.
Awesome, Adeyinka. You amazingly, you managed to switch lanes. You know, it's like you're on the M25, and you did that amazingly. And what you actually brought up was something that, as you were speaking, you know, the word stigma came into my head. You know, but yes, you're right. You know, what is the consequence of those actions you just spoke about? The consequences could be dire for a child. You know, don't talk about this because, but you know, you said it's. I just want to raise something. You said it's a mindset in Africa. If I let you know that in the United Kingdom, among the Asian community, it is there. It's, oh, wow. I think it's even worse than in Africa, and I'm going to be very honest with you. It's that very tight culture. It's not just them. There are a few other ethnic groups, you know, that you can, nothing comes out. Everything stays inside their pot. So I don't know that it's just an African or a Nigerian thing, but it could be something that you have witnessed, you know, coming up now within the Nigerian community. And yes, we do need to speak about it. But the thing is, I think we need to be careful, because what we need to say is, okay, you're saying you made a comment about gentlemen, that it could be an ego thing. Not necessarily. There could be so many reasons why these men are not speaking up, which is not ego, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna let me go to the professionals. Ollie, you've got your hand raised up, so I'm sure you can shed some light on this particular slant to the topic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for everybody who's spoken. See, I'm going to take a different route to all of this, right? I think from a professional angle, okay, I'll give an example. When I was training to be a social worker, I wasn't trained as either a black or a white social worker, right? When we go for placement, and other social workers can call me out on this. When we go for placement, there is no manual of how to work with a white or a black family, right? We're trained generically, right? And I think that training is a deliberate thing. When I went for placement as a black girl or an African girl, right? In placement, I worked with white families, I worked with black families, okay? Now, nobody sat me down in placement, and even till date, to teach me how to work with either a white or a black family. There is a generic, in child protection, neglect is neglect. There is a neglect toolkit, okay? Then we have the resilience metrics. So basically, when there's risk, you can identify risk. And for those who have sat on child protection and safeguarding board, you would agree with me that every professional sees risk differently, okay? The way a police would identify risk is different from the way the health practitioners would identify risk, different from the way social workers, school, you know, everybody that sits on that table. And even more so, the advocates, those from third sectors, okay? Now, but I think the common thing here, in as much as we're talking about culture, when there's child protection concerns, irrespective of the color of the skin of the child, okay, the concern is, okay, there's a threshold. These families are not meeting the threshold. And I think it's a case of perhaps maybe Saffron need to look at, or maybe, you know, do something whereby you talk people through this neglect toolkits. Because a lot of things that we're calling culture, right? It's not necessarily culture, because that's not, that the fact that I slapped my child is not a cultural thing, right? A white slaps their children, the black slaps, the Asian, different minorities, okay? But one thing that is paramount is when there is neglect, neglect is neglect. When there's concern, concern is concerns, right? Like recently in Scotland, there's a high percentage of what's it called now? Section 1 offense. Okay, so that's for those, you know, who do something like people who have armed children. It could be beating, it could be sex offense, it could be whatever. Okay, now it's not because these things were not existing. It's just because the law is tighter. Okay, and it's brought all of this to place. It's just like domestic abuse, right? And then there's something, I can't remember who was talking about the culture of silence. The culture of silence is not paramount to Nigerians alone. It's not even paramount to Africans alone. Even among the Caucasians, funny enough, when something goes wrong, for those colleagues, obviously, who's work with children and family, or even adult services, right? When you're responding to domestic abuse, you find that the child, the first way as a professional, the first signal to pick up what's going on in the house is the behavior and the reaction of the children, right? It's not because the children behave in a certain way, but you would notice a child who is not secured. It's very easy to spot that child if you know what you're looking for when you walk into the household, okay? But however, I think for me, one of the things that I say when I go on meetings and steering groups is, it's good for us to talk about culture, But then there's also something called cultural relativism, right? Where no culture is better than the other. And we also, just like we are saying, some things are good, some things are bad in the African culture, in the Western culture as well, there's some good, there's some bad.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. In Scotland, we have different accents. I'm sure you guys have heard the Scottish different accent. My son speaks a very strong Glaswegian accent, but in school, he doesn't come to my door. The moment he walks into my house, he speaks normal English, right? And that's because I've made it very clear, right? That I'm not twisting his accent, but again, I think it depends on how you raise your children. Because for me, I speak a normal English. I don't understand winde. I don't understand whose, because house is house. I don't know what whose means, okay? But it's just being firm, and obviously as a parent, there's no set stone on how to raise children, right? But at the same time, I think for us as a community, right, the first thing we need to identify is what is it that makes our community a high prevalence. I think that's the starting point for the conversation. Because for instance, like the case of Victoria Crombie that was highlighted, something similar, Victoria Crombie of blessed memory, something similar happened in a local authority here in Scotland, right? Recently. Wow. And it's actually a white on white. It's not even a black, exact same thing. In short, it was very interesting because they put it side by side, right? And these are Caucasian, they're Scottish, right? And the thing is, the social workers and whoever, the professionals, nobody picked up on it. And that was exact same thing, because I remembered when they were doing the serious case review, they linked it side by side, okay? I'm not saying that there's no need for us to understand cultural competence. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there's no need for professionals to be trained on cultural competence. But instead, what I'm saying is, when we're looking at concern, I think it's identifying, like for the Asian community, we have been able to identify that there are certain practices that makes children vulnerable in their community, right? They have a very big family. A lot of things do go on behind the scene. For the farmers community in Scotland, we've also noticed that there are specific things that are unique to the farming community. The rural community, there are specific things. You know, it's just going on and on like that. The same also for us as Africans, don't let me say Nigerians, because even among the Africans in the UK, we have Africans who are working class. Yes. We have Africans who are middle class, and we have Africans who are aristocrats. Okay? Now, what happens to, let me use my name, Wura, who is a middle class, or working class rather, might not be the same that happens to Lola, might not be the same experience of Lola, who is a middle class, or who is an aristocrat. And then even when we're talking about the people who come from Africa, right? And I'm just saying this generically, there is that notion that African parenting is very authoritarian. You know, we shout at our children, we do this, we do that. When I was growing up as a little girl, I was brought up in a household where you ask questions. You're not ashamed to ask questions, right? We ask questions. My mom used to say to us, if you don't know, speak up, right? It didn't make us bad. It didn't make us whatever. It just meant I had confidence. But then, irrespective of that platform of freedom to express myself, I knew my limits as a child. I knew what was expected of me, okay? And even when we come back, for us, because we are looking at the African community here and those of us in Nigeria, one of the things is the charter that builds our child protection. I know people would say there's no child protection in Africa. That's not true. There is child protection. It's not as robust as what we have here. And the child protection, the guideline for child protection in Africa, just like the UK here, is the African Charter and the UNCRC, which obviously addresses the concerns around cultural competence, okay? And then if we now look at even the child protection here, well, let me say Scotland, because I don't know much about the England, whatever. But in Scotland, we're going back to what even the African communities practice. It takes a village to raise a child. Okay? You see it, name it, report it. Okay? Now, in conclusion, I think for me, I don't think singling out culture is enough to reach out to our community. I think it's more of our community's understanding. This is what is practiced in this country, right? Drawing the attention of even the professionals as well. Because for me, as a the fact I'm a Black social worker, it doesn't mean I know everything about Black communities.
Definitely not.
Okay? And even being a Nigerian, I don't know everything about Nigerian community. Even being a Yoruba, I don't know everything about the Yoruba community. Okay? But nobody should stand as a pillar of I know it all. I think it's a case of we've come to a stage for Scotland, for instance, like we have I think I sent you guys a document, the promise, okay? That is generating a lot of conversation because we're now beginning to realize that you can't just focus and say, oh, a specific community, this is their problem. Another community, oh, this is their problem. Now we are looking, okay, what is everybody doing? Everybody come on the table. How do you raise your children? Let's have knowledge share. Let's exchange information, just like what you guys are doing. Okay? Let's look at what's going on. Because for instance, geese, what is unique to you as geese might not be unique to me.
Definitely.
I have one child, and I know people. I have a sister who has 2 kids, and I know for a fact that our 2 children are not the same.
Nope. No child is the same.
So it's also understanding how things work. We need to understand the system, but we also need the system to also understand our own end. And I think until we begin to do that, we begin to have this conversation where we're thinking, oh, the African Caribbean, there's something about culture. The white Caucasian, there's something about culture. The Polish have their own culture.
I think every ethnic group has their culture. You're so right there. And just because of time, I'm going to come in. But yeah, you're spot on. Cultural competency is very, very important for social work in England.
Yeah, for professionals.
And the reason I say this is without mentioning, but an organization has actually approached Saffron with this very issue because of their inability to be able to permeate our community. Whether we like it or not, we cannot start any conversation in the communities without talking about the culture. We cannot. And you rightly said, this culture is different. So you would have, when we're not focusing on Nigeria here, we're talking of Nigerians, Ugandans, Somalians, Zimbabweans, Zambians, Gambians. I've mentioned just 7 ethnic groups, and I'm telling you now, there are 7 different cultures. And within those countries, you still have different cultures. Because look at Nigeria, Calabar, then you've got Rivers, you've got Imo, you've got Abia. Imo and Abia, they were coined from the same place, still different cultures. So we can't really start having these conversations without talking about culture. But because of time, when you look at the United Kingdom, 100 times more Black children within England than you have in Scotland and say Wales. So I think that is possibly why. And obviously faith, when you look at faith, we integrate, and we will come back next week, add faith to it, and still talk about this, because when we're talking about culture, you cannot dissect faith from it. They are intertwined, they are intermingled. It's 7:37. I want to hear from other people who have that. Well, your hand has been up. I'm going to come to you now. Please feel free to unmute yourselves, and especially if you are from outside of the country. A lot of you have been typing that there's child protection in Nigeria. I believe you. I'm not going to argue. I honestly believe that there's child protection in Nigeria. The problem I have is the evidence of it. So it could be there on paper. There could be 1 million policies, But when those policies are not being implemented, when they're not being affected, you know, it's difficult. But yeah, those are conversations that we need to bring to the table. And just before we go on to you, Dakbo, for those of us who are saying that there is child protection in Nigeria and it is practiced in most states, Adeyinka, you are in the position to know. I think this will be a good time for us to announce on the 25th of May, and we will be having our virtual summit in Abuja. It's a call to action. It's a call to action, and it's our National Children's Safeguarding Awareness Roundtable discussions. I don't know if we can share the if you can share the flyer on here, Yemi, because I can't. But yeah, let's have this. Please, please, please. It's on Eventbrite. We're going to share the link. For those of you that are telling us that there's child protection in Nigeria, come on that summit, and let's have this discussion. It's neat. I can't share it from here, hon. Are you able to? Thank you, love. So if you can come on the summit, you know, I'm happy to hear that there is child protection in Nigeria. But I think so much more needs to be done. And like Awura rightly said, Oli rightly said, it takes a village to raise a child. This is the village. We are the village. So we bring your voices together on the 25th of May, and we're going to share the link now. Please, please, please lend your voices, because Saffron can't do it on our own. We can't. It's impossible. This is something that we all have to be in it, you know, as stakeholders, as safeguarding practitioners, social workers, healthcare practitioners. This is for everybody. So there you have it. The National Children's Safeguarding Awareness Roundtable. It's the Tuesday, the 25th of May, 2021, 10 o'clock in the morning. I know some of you may be at work, I get it, but please still log in, turn your cameras off like you do, and listen. It's a Zoom, so the Zoom details are all there, but you can only get into it through Eventbrite. We will be leaving the link, the Eventbrite link in the chat. So please copy and paste and do the needful. It would be amazing to see all of you there. All right. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to ask you to unmute that. Well, you've had your hand up. I'm sure it's hurting you now. Unmute. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Okay.
Sorry, I really, something just struck me when I forgot the person that was speaking at that point. The person was saying men, the way women abuse, relatively men abuse is a child, it's a thing of ego. I'm so sorry, that's very not true in well, I don't have the statistics, so I don't want to be too data oriented about it. But you know, just like we all are quiet about it. If I said the same thing about, okay, so in terms of a woman now, the emotional attachment to it is that it's shameful, right? Because you come out to say, oh, my husband is abusing me. Like, it's actually shameful for a woman. So it's something to hide. I've seen several social experiments, because at least in this group, I'm the only male in this group. So if you look at everybody, yes, I'm the only male here.
Wow.
So that's why I'm lending the voice on the behalf of my.
You do that. You do that.
So you can just go online, social experiment on men abuse, like it's right on the street. If, for me, for instance, I slap a lady of my age on the street, I'll have everybody over me asking me why and challenging me as to why I did such a thing on the street. But if I just push, like not slap or hit, just push a woman on the street, you know, everybody will be around me asking me why, and why would I treat a lady like that? You know, that would be the language. But if a woman does the same, you know, everybody's just going to be passing by like nothing is happening. You know, that is neglect right there, like pure neglect. So because as a man, it is assumed that you should be able to take care of yourself. That is just the general, what do you call it, thoughts around men. So is either something about, oh, you are not man enough, that's why, or something like that. So generally, it is a neglected stuff. It's not like people don't come out to say, oh, my wife abused me, but it's just that they don't take actions over it.
Okay.
You understand? So that's that on the men abuse. Then on culture, you know, the if you get the whole, I believe she was speaking from the child protection, you know, perspective. It is more of a reactive measure. It is not a preventive measure. The whole Saffron, if you look at the word itself, safeguarding is like prevention. So, you know, it is a prevention mechanism. We might not say culture. So you were talking about you and your son, for instance, that it doesn't come home to speak this. Like you stand on that. You are very firm on that. It's something that you take of value. You know, it's something that you take very seriously. And culture is something that everybody takes seriously, you know. Despite the fact that it is diverse, you know, but your culture is your culture wherever you are. And if you look at the major problems we are really having, like, so for instance, I'm just lucky to be brought up in a cultured environment, and I learned a lot of things, right? So there's always that cultural conflict with people that have been into this culture, and somebody that is from that what they call it now, environment or family, that is not taking the culture seriously. So now, if you there is no harm in, you know, opening your eyes up to say, oh, come, this is why you're having problem in your family. It's because your culture values this and this. You know, it will reduce the what they call it, the conflict dramatically if people will respect their culture within their space. So, you know, there's a system that works in your environment, that's in the UK, for instance. In actual fact, yeah? So UK has a system that works. So the moment you go into the system, you just automatically have to respect the system because they've put their culture value in their laws and their system there. So that's why you automatically have to blend in. But, you know, our own, say, government has not matured to that level, you know. So we can see where the problem is. So I like her to just take a note that the cultural lane we are going through is more of a preventive measure, so that we don't always get to that point where a child protection officer has to visit the family, because it is never a good visit, you know. Even if there wasn't enough conflict to have caused that visit, you know, that visit alone can start triggering every other thing that, you know, shouldn't have even come up or unnecessarily before, prior to the visit.
Sure.
So if we teach people culture within their family, respect the culture, within the community, respect the culture, in your country, respect the culture. You know, it's not only in English that they say if you go to Rome, you should behave like the people in Rome. You know? So it is not only in English. You have a way of saying it, and I believe other languages have a way of saying it too. So that's all I have to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debo. That was amazing. And I think, yeah, I know, Adeyinka, I got what you wrote, but I think there's a bit of crossed wires. But yeah, I think he kind of smoothed it out. But if you're okay with that, then we can move on. So yes, thank you everybody who has actually lent their voices to this. We've talked quite a lot today on culture, and I think we've kind of addressed the I won't say the good or the bad, but we are looking at what works, what doesn't work. And that's basically what we've been talking about tonight. So I think at this point in time, Yemi, are you able to share some of these links before we go? Because I'm not able to share it from here.
We
What
have
we'll
shared
do,
it on Facebook.
we'll share.
I
Okay,
will drop it in the chat, but if
in
you
the
go
chat.
to our Facebook page,
Brilliant,
it is on there.
brilliant.
And while you're still talking, I'm also sharing a link to our page asking for your evaluation. So please be kind enough to drop some response so that we do know how we're doing, things that you'd like us to change, things you'd like us to talk about. Please drop them in there and we will take that forward.
Okay, thank you. And so Vicky has said she has to go, but maybe we could also need to look at domestic arrangement in families. So I'm going to make a note of that, and we can ask her when she comes on next week. Yeah, domestic arrangement in families, and I'm sure she will expatiate because she's gone off now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's, just before we go, is there anybody else that would like to lend a voice to the topics we've put on tonight? It's been interesting. There's been quite a lot that have come up, and you know, I think we're learning. You know, that what just recently just said to us now. You know, that things work here in the UK, and in Nigeria they're still coming up. You know, and this is why we do what we do. You know, we have Saffron here, but we also have Saffron SDGF out there in Nigeria, because we also understand that they're still coming up and they still do need some kind of intervention from Saffron. You know, it's not enough to knock anybody. Rome was not built in a day. The United Kingdom wasn't always this way. You know, they came from somewhere, the same way as Africa is coming from somewhere, and we are getting there. So, you know, what we would want is for those of you who are out there, you know, to work with us. Partnerships and collaborations are everything. Yeah, no man is an island. You can't do things on your own. Don't let anybody tell you you can, because you can't. You do need to join. We need to, you know, rub minds. Yeah, and we all come from different workspaces, different walks of life, different educational backgrounds. We come together, we rub minds, and we get the ball rolling, and we get things doing, and we achieve the outcomes for these children that we are all seeking to achieve. All right. So please feel free to reach out to us on our social media handles. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We will be posting the recorded version of this on our YouTube. Please subscribe and share. We always say share. You do not know whose life you are going to bless by sharing. And whilst we're on Saturday, the 15th of May, we are on again with the Home Office engagement team, as we do every third Saturday of the month. And it is this Saturday, the 15th of May, from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Yeah, 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So please, if you have anybody in the United Kingdom that is going through any kind of immigration issue, whether it's overstayers, student visas, Windrush, EU settlement is running up June. That's the end. So if you've got anybody that has issues with their EU settlement, please, the link is in there. Fill out your inquiry form, guys. These forms that we send out, fill them up so we can give you, it's confidential. You're going to have a confidential space. You don't have to come on there with your face, you know, or your details. It's very confidential, and the team do actually listen to you. You can also have a one-to-one session booked in as well. Yes, Yemi?
Sorry, thank you. Also, it's not exclusively to the United Kingdom. We've had a lot of people call from around the world, Africa, Nigeria, asking what the immigration requirements are for moving to the country, what things they need to do, because I as you know, especially in Nigeria at the moment, I think there's quite some uncertainties, is the word I'm going to use, and we've had quite a lot of questions coming in. My response directly has been, Oh yes, we're told that the engagement team, the immigration engagement team who have been on, have always referred them back to the Home Office.gov website, and that's the truth. And my response has been to them, please go on to the .gov website, have a good read, and come with informed questions and informed comments. So instead of the team referring you back to go and read, and then come and ask questions. If you ask the right questions, showing that you have done your homework, I'm sure they will be in a better capacity to then answer your questions directly, as opposed to, just coming and asking, and all the answers to what you're asking is on the website. So go on to the homeoffice.gov website, have a good read, just type in, search your question, your specific words. They will come up with a lot of information for you. And barring that, come onto our pages. The adverts are going to be out from this evening. Go into the forms and put in your questions, your specific questions. You don't have to leave your name, you don't have to leave your phone number, you don't have to leave anything. If you like, put XXX, just fill something in, but make sure you're able to ask the questions and get the answers that you need and that you deserve. Okay.
Okay, I have one more question in. We've got 6 minutes. So Rosebud is asking, what's our culture with reference to single parenthood and marriage? A major topic for another day, please. Yes, come back next week, Rosebud. We're definitely gonna handle that. I'm just making a note of it now.
This topic through the month of May.
The whole of May. Yeah. We're running this for the whole of May. So this is amazing, guys. It's got to come from you. We can't do this on our own. Drop your questions, whatever it is you think we need to address. Saffron always asks the community, and it's based on what you ask. We now go away and we work towards that. So thank you, Rosebud. We will be looking at that next week. What's our culture? All right, thanks a lot. Let's see, 2 more messages. Okay, awesome. So guys, thank you. It's been awesome. Thank you, Facebook viewers. It's been amazing. It always is when we come together with you guys, because you guys just, you just give it all the time. So it's been amazing. Sometimes it's emotive because obviously we're discussing serious subjects. Oh, I want to please recognize one of our beautiful members of our family. This is Mrs. Olajumoke Otitoloju from Iyaniwura Foundation, all the way from Nigeria. Good evening. Okay, it's probably connection, but yes, good evening. You are very welcome. Thank you so much for always supporting Saffron. So guys, it's been really, really amazing. As Yemi said, we're going to be running this topic for the whole of May. We don't like to rush through things, and when you rush through things, you don't learn anything. And we learn a lot from you guys, we really do. And please be under no illusion that we are not learning from you, because we really are. And we're able to take away what you tell us, process it, and use it out there in the community to make an impact, to bridge that gap, and to make things amazing for our children and our young people, which is all we've pledged to do by bringing out Saffron. So without much ado, I know we've given you a lot of information. 25th of May, please join the roundtable discussion out there in Abuja. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be really, 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 you see, you have to be the change you want to see. There is no point standing behind and talking about things that are happening, and when you get an opportunity to sit at the table and discuss, and then you shy away. So this is an opportunity for you to come to that roundtable discussion, and let's speak to them in Abuja on the federal level and say, hey guys, you've got this child protection thing. Can we know what's going on with it? That would be an amazing opportunity to get your questions out, your statements out. Also, don't forget, Saturday the 15th of May, the Home Office engagement team will be here with us live, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Please don't forget, spread the word. And, you know, this is a run-up, guys, to our 1 year, which we will be celebrating on the 23rd of June. So we are excited. We are excited because that day it's going to be awesome. We are going to, I mean, I'm hoping we're going to be able to get everybody that has ever been on the voiceover, because you guys did this. We didn't. We just sit here. You guys come on every Wednesday and you just do it for us. So all this is leading up to Wednesday, the 23rd of June. Put it in your diaries. You know, it's gonna be good. We'll probably not do 6 to 8. I know they're looking at me thinking Giz is mad, but nah, we're gonna probably extend it so that we can boogie as well, because we're thankful. We're thankful. You know, we made it through the lockdown. You guys are still here. We're still here, and it's gonna be a reason to really celebrate. So without much ado, I want to ask Marcia, have you got any last words for us, please, before we close? Marcia, is you there?
I am. No, nothing
Okay.
I missed most of everything today.
Oh, it's okay. We'll record it for you. It's recorded, so we're going to send it to you.
Nothing from me. I'm just saying thank you for our faithful supporters and family members.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mas. Thank you so much. And just want to say thank you to those who are still on. Ollie, thank you all the way from Scotland. You come in from work and you jump on and you really, really give us amazing. Olajumoke Otitoloju, thank you. Good evening. All the way from Lagos. Thank you so much for coming on.
Good evening.
Hi. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Sorry for joining late.
No, please don't apologize. It's amazing to just have you on. We're running this for the whole of May. So please, please, please bring back the family. We want to see Cedar. We want to see all of them. Come bring them back again, please. It's
bring
nice
them on the 25th as well.
25th of May, when we have the Abuja virtual summit. We will send the invite out. It's an Eventbrite invite, but yeah, I'm sure Yemi will connect with you shortly. And I'm sure we have Lekon. Lekon, good evening. I'm seeing you hiding there in the corner.
Really? No, it's not Lekon.
That's not Lekon. Okay, that's fine. Well, thank you as always. You always bring it, and I love how you just stand there on guard for your men, your brothers, your G's. Thank you, Dakbo. That was amazing. Auntie Rosebud, thank you. Dalu. Emela.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's fine. Hope to see you next week. Twinny, thank you. Thank you. You came on because you had a bit of a break. But yeah, thank you for always supporting Saffron. Thank you for standing in the wings. And Facebook family, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming on, for doing as you normally do. You sit there and you listen. Thank you. And hope to see you all on Saturday for the Home Office engagement. And then we'll see you again next week, Wednesday. And then we'll see you after Wednesday on the 25th of May. It's going to be a busy one. All right. I'm going to hand over to Yemi now before we go. Go ahead, Yem.
I was just going to say, I don't know how you managed to reel all these dates. I think we have a lot going on at the moment.
We do.
And how you're pulling it off, but I suppose it's because you are the director of programs or full programs. So hey, on your head be it. Thank you. Thank you everyone who's joined me on Facebook today. I also especially want to say thank you to Auntie Grace Alexander. Thank you so much for taking time out to always be with us. You also have Alice Yuntari, and obviously I'm Yemi Yuntari, so you know who Alice Yuntari is. That's me, Mama.
Mama, thank you.
Thank you so much. Our first and number one advocate. And also thank you to everyone else who's been. People have dropped in and dropped out. We also have Uncle Edward there as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and bless everyone. We salute. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Please join us next week. Ollie, thank you so much. You know that. Only love.
We
sis.
love you. And happy
God bless.
birthday. It's still your birthday week. Happy birthday.
We didn't get that
Run away.
cake, but we saw your dancing, you know?
We saw it well. Okay, so everybody please stay safe, and we shall be here Saturday. Hope to see you all, and we'll be back again on Wednesday. Have a good evening. Bye, good night, and God bless. Bye.